And I had a close look at that on the inside earlier, and I thought myself 1780, right? But Martin tells me I'm right. 1776. But you can, if you come up here, you can see the circular. You can see it. You can see the arcs in it.
Oh yes, yeah.
So that's spun glass. That's crown glass. Just looking at the crown glass, you can just see how bright and clear that was. You can see why it was bright, despite the ripples in it. You can see how you've got lovely fire luster from it, and that's why that was so highly esteemed.
Try not to get chemicals on your hands for too long. As I said, this is the Dryflex 4 I'm using. And I put the 2 tubes into the gun.
So if you don't use the whole tube,
If you don't use the whole tube, put the lids back on, keep it somewhere not warm, but where you don't get away from, keep it away from the frost. And you should have, there's a 2-year shelf life on these products. So put the lids back on. You should have 18 months, 2 years before you use it again. Trust me, you will use it again fairly quickly. So what we do is we gun this out onto the board, and it's horribly cold and really stiff. What we do is we mix that up. So the easiest way to do that is with a blade, and we just pull the blade through. And what we're looking for is an even, non-marbled finish. Can you see your colour now? And it's also thickening up. The trick is mix slightly less than you think you're going to need. You can always add a bit more. But once you've mixed it up, you can't put it back in the tubes. We spread that out over the board. That slows the curing down. Epoxy cures from the middle outwards. The very last bit to cure is right on the very edge. So the more you spread it out, the longer you've got to actually work with it. I've got a problem. I've got a damaged door frame, sill, bottom of a window frame, whatever. Something's damaged there, and I've got to re-establish that corner. Okay? So we route out with the Profi, get all the rotten decay out of it. We apply a thin coat of the dry fix, and we get a little bit of the dry flex, and we butter in. We make sure the whole thing is coated. Very important we do that. Then we can knife it in bulk. And it's a curious material. You think it's going to be very heavy. It's actually a very light, curiously light material. It's almost like lard. It's the nearest thing I can describe it. It's soft and it yields to the knife, but it's quite structured in its own right. So just there. What I do now is to get a nice clean blade and get the biggest blade you can, so you get as much support on the surface. What we do is we simply take away the excess like that. And I'm left with that really fat edge there. And what I do now is to take a nice clean blade. What you have to do is come down almost like a scissors closing. You come down at an angle. We take our blade and we come down like that, and there's the edge to the repair. And that will stay exactly where you've cut it. If I've got moulded timber, and you will be dealing with moulded timber, it's exactly the same principle. So I've got moulded section there. Again, remove any rotten decay with your Profi. Apply the dry fix, thin coat, like that, and then knife it in bulk. Put in a little bit more in there than I actually need. Again, take a nice clean blade, and what we're going to do is follow the profile round. So the blade's going to follow that profile, get a nice clean curved section like that. Slightly more sophisticated corbel to do. Again, route out, apply the dry fix, thin coat of the dry flex. This is already pretty well larded up. I use this quite a bit. The important thing here when you've got a larger repair is to make sure you get the resin tight up against the edge. So we knife that in paying particular attention to the edge.
Does it have a minimum thickness that it should be applied?
5 mil. 5 millimetres. Right, I've got it in there now, and again take the blade and we follow the profile of the wood down, clean that away. There's your new repaired corbel. 1, 3 repairs. Still got the same mix. Now I'll do another repair. I said I'd show you how to repair a glazing bar. But what I'm going to show you is how to do a glazing bar. There we go. Trust me, this is easier with the glass in. It's so much easier with the glass in. But we're only repairing the glazing bar. We're not going to use this like a putty and knife up against the through the rebate against the glass. We're only going to repair the bar. So we take our resin. This is still the same stuff. Brush on the dry fix, and then get a little bit onto your blade, only a small bit. What we're going to do is just knife that on. This whole buttering in process is very, very important to ensure we get a bond between the primed timber and the resin. So we knife that along that. The foundation. Along there. Now we have to put a bit more in now, so we get a bigger amount onto a blade, and we just hook that on. It's almost like hooking Velcro together, because you've got to be able to pull your knife away as well. But you just put that on. I mean, it won't slump. It's not going to slide off. You just keep building it out and building it out. This is where we use the press packs, because it won't stick to plastic, it sticks to wood. It'll also stick to metal, and that's cast iron. So that's a repair using the 1 hour on just an old cast iron header, you see. That's it on masonry, that's just a piece of bath stone. So there we go, it will bond to metal. It'll bond to masonry, but getting back to this, it won't bond to plastic. So we use this quantum light, and what we do is we simply bed that into the resin, like that. You see why I put the 2 dollops side by side, it just holds it in place, and that's all you need to fix it. It just stays there. Quite important to keep the blade clean. If it's sticking, then the resin tends to stick to the blade, and you can end up pulling it out of the repair. So just get a wipe, clean it up. And very gingerly, because obviously I don't want to put too much pressure on that strip of press backs. We just go into the rebate. We take out all the waste resin, and there's a brand new rebate there. You see? Taking off the front. Any gaps that are missing, they're popping, trying to get them out now, and now coming underneath. Clean that up, and there's your brand new rock-proof glazing bar. If it goes on the glass, and it will, you can either take it off with a wipe, or I think it's better, let it cure, take it off with a glass scrape. The wipe tends to smear it all over the glass, but you can let it cure, it comes off cleaner. So there's your rock-proof glazing bar. As I say, that could be your 9-pane Georgian window rescued. Ready to run. for another 200 years. Dollop of the dry flex all the way along the place I'm going to repair. And we take a profile blade and we put it on and we pull that along and we reproduce the moulding all the way along. Any profile we like, any length we like. Just like a plasterer making a cornice. Once it's cured, get a chisel behind that, you can prise it off, and what you're going to be left with is that. That's a solid resin glazing board using the 1 hour curing.
And what you do with all those little holes in it?
Ah, I did that by mistake because it's the 1 hour, and I'd done that, and I got chatting to someone. By the time I came back to it, it cured, so I didn't actually finish it off as well as I should have done. So, but I left it really. But if you do get something like that, a little bit of the 1 hour into that just to finish it off. But that's what you should be aiming for. But that's simply by mistake. But there we go. We're all human. It'll well, what I can say, it will last longer than any putty. And not only that, every tube is going to be consistent. I don't know how often you've actually opened up a tub of putty. Well, I needn't really go on. Every putty is different. Some has just got a great slick of oil on the top. It's too oily to work with. Others have got apple crumble on the top. And you can't use it because you get a line every time you use it. Does anybody want to have a go at this? Yes, as well. Yeah, now I'll show you what happens when you pull it off.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
You leave that on to this here. I can't say it's essential, but if you are trying which has got basically all the tools with a gun, a set of dry fuel, and a set of outlets, and in that there's a little thing everything I'm going to do let me just have a go at this. This is Roger. He's the manager at Truro DDC. This resin is now starting to age, so it's not as fresh as it was. It should still be perfectly okay to use the water. Let's put back in.
Are you finished, Frank?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to have to finish that. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, is there something else you want?
Well, I was just going to let you guys have a go at doing it, but you're in a rush now, we'll move on.
I'm not in a rush, but yeah, no, I'm just asking how you finish.
All right, do you want to join?
Some people are in a rush, but I'm not.
Hey, I'll see you around. Take it easy, what you want.
And it is a bit faster.
Yeah.
That's going to change this year. Work pretty tight. This year's going to work pretty tight. I think it's tough actually.
Can I just have a nose here? Yeah.
So who wants to come and have a look at the window?